right.
I'm Mia, and I'm going to be showing you guys the final project in how I got what I think I should get mastery for in my English class. So for mine, I did a presentation. So I like to always start my English papers and presentations with a quote that I think could kind of summarize stuff up. And I thought that this quote by Mia Hamm, "Winners Never Quit," would be a good one for this semester because I feel like I've worked quite hard and I didn't give up a lot on a lot of things because there were times where my papers were just not going great, but I still kept working on them. So the first thing I decided to talk about was telling stories, that standard. So I had not done any work in this standard before break, and it was going to be the first thing that I worked on this semester that we're in right now, second semester. But over break, I got to work on it. So here I worked on the showing, not telling in this example. So I'm sitting there slightly more Grinch-like than human and began to work. And then also when it says, so I sat there hunched and honestly slightly annoyed, typing as loud as I could because I think it's clear, I'm more showing than just being I typed the paper.
Right.
And also, in this example, I did not tell the story in a linear fashion. And at the beginning of the paper, you'll see it says, "Now you must understand." And then I think it is the third paragraph here, it also says that, kind of showing that I'm grabbing you in, so you want to know what's going to be happening in the rest of the paper. And then I began to tell the story in a more linear fashion after that.
Okay.
So then the next standard I decided to do was navigating counterclaims. And I worked on, in our learning activities, a bunch of counterclaim, figuring out how I was going to use them. And I used two different techniques, or at least tried to, in my argumentative paper, to acknowledge that was a problem, but still give some ways to fix it. And then also kind of concede is also acknowledge, but more arguing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
And then, so this is in the paper here, and I believe it is also showing, my counterclaims. I put them together just so it made sense and there wasn't counterclaims just thrown all over the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And here you can kind of see where I'm doing more of the acknowledging and conceding in my papers.
Okay.
So the next standard I decided to do was organizing thoughts and ideas. This is one of the things that I think I came really far on. I don't know if I'd say I'm perfectly mastered, but at the beginning I worked on a paper, the identity letter, and it was very unorganized. Here you can see I'm talking about in the first paper in the left corner, it's there's a lack of impulsivity, there's kindness, reminders of my roots and the things I've seen, and then greatly my identity is made up of things that I've done. I just kind of jump all over the place.
Right.
And then in the lower right-hand corner, I do this is in my analysis paper, and it was one of the ones that I think I did better this semester, and I go in from my claim, and then I go right into using the ideas in my claim right there. I'm kind of more straightforward and organized than I have been in my other papers.
I agree.
And then the next standard I decided to do is controlling language. So I did a lot in the evaluation. We had to evaluate a book, and I think I used the language there was criteria and stuff, and I feel I was very straightforward because, again, in the identity letter in the beginning, I was using a lot of analogies and figurative language and stuff, and I feel to me it made sense in what I was writing it for, but it didn't make sense to anyone else. And then again, as I continued to write and grow, as a writer, I used more just straightforward language and acknowledged who I was writing for a bit more. And that is that. And then developing analysis. I did this in both my evaluation and my analysis paper. So here, I think with the whole at the bottom, I talk about the whole idea of repetition in this poem, and with the word monster, and I feel like I explain my ideas and my thoughts very clearly, and it all makes sense, and I'm using quotes, and then I'm explaining what they mean and how they apply to this idea of repetition. And also in my evaluation, I feel like I did the analysis better in my analysis paper because I did that later in the semester, but I still feel like I did an okay job with it in the evaluation, talking about, I was evaluating characters in the upper right-hand corner and talking about how they've grown and things like that. And then again, in the upper left-hand corner, when I'm talking about juxtaposition, I'm giving examples and then I'm explaining what they mean and how they apply to the idea. That. So then using discipline-specific vocab, I used a lot of our words were like a lot of the figurative language stuff, and I feel like I understood what those terms meant, like juxtaposition and repetition and all of that stuff. And this is just an example of the paragraph where I talked about juxtaposition and how it's used correctly, and it's not like I think juxtaposition is like an analogy or anything.
Right.
And then using evidence, I feel like I used evidence quite strongly this semester, and in some of the times I think I did it best were in my argument when I used a lot of reputable and good evidence talking about how volunteering can play a positive effect on like combating depression, and have all those, and I explained them well, I think. And then again, with the whole repetition paragraph, because I don't think it was something that at least it took me a longer time to think of. And so using the evidence there, I feel like helps explain it more than just saying like they repeat the word monster.
Right.
And then for creating claims, I feel like Mr. Bronke, my teacher, one of my teachers, he commented on my analysis paper in this little area. I had a different claim and I was just overwriting so much, as you can kind of see up in his comment, the selected text. I was just overwriting because I understood what a claim was, but not how to write it very well. And he told me to like keep it clear and just write how, what, and why. And that really helped me kind of understand how to write a better claim. And then here in the bottom, it shows the claim that I wrote from that. And I feel like it makes way more sense because I don't have the picture of anything here, but in my evaluation, my claim was not the strongest. So kind of fixing it. And then I worked on my argument more over break as well, and I kind of fixed that up.
Okay.
So overall, in some aspects of this class, I think I deserve more mastery in others, like in things like at the time with my narrative and my controlling language and organization. But I believe that this semester I've shown a lot of like improvement and stuff, and I've learned and taken all of my teacher's advice with like a good attitude and willingness to put it in my work, and I feel like I did that. And I tried to finish all the papers and have them be as best as I could, like finished as best as I could. And while I might not be showing all the standards, I think that it was like, I think I've learned more here that I can put towards my other papers in the long run than just in my other classes where I'd be working. And because it like made sense grammatically and stuff, it would be a good paper. Yeah.
Well, good, because that's what we wanted you to do. Maybe we know what we're up to after all, right? Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that.